I'd like to call this regular meeting to order at 5 o'clock. Can you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let it be noted that all directors are present. And Mr. Bartz, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda tonight.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move the agenda.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion passes. We have no one here for public comment, and it looks like there is no one online for community reports.
I do have one person in line, call-in user. Do you have any comment for public comment? Okay, I think we can proceed.
Okay. Move on to consent items, and I would like to remove item D for a little discussion. So if we can get the consent items approved, A, B, C, and E, can we have a motion for that?
I will motion.
Okay, in a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, motion passes. So, item 4, matters removed from the consent calendar, was item D, acceptance of the May disbursements. I was wondering if we could get a little more description on the disbursements in the credit card reports for food purchases. Some of the food purchases, all I see is the restaurant or the place, and there's no who it was for or who it was with.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Then I had a couple other requests that I was looking for. I was wondering if we could get a 2-year history of disbursements for food purchases for all staff by position.
Okay,
And then a 2-year history of fuel purchases by position. And then a history of all expenses related to off-site training and conferences for all staff by position for the last couple of years. And then any policies and procedures related to those items.
okay, we can do that.
Okay. Does anybody else?
Could you report, I had food, I was writing it down, food training, and I missed
And fuel.
fuel
Yeah, and then the policies related to those
And-
items. Yeah.
and staff
Yeah.
policies.
And how long do we think it would take to put something like that together?
That's gonna, well, I'm looking at a couple weeks. If you want the detail
How about a month?
for the food, for the food, going through all those food invoices, and you want a little more detail for them, and or the
Well, and I just
on
want
those
more, I
receipts.
want more detail on the disbursements from here on out, but I just want a history of food purchases for the past couple of years.
Okay, so you have the detail for the
Yeah.
future, okay.
Yeah,
got
just
it.
for future
I-
stuff, yeah. Yeah. And then I'd like the report just provided to the board members, not at a board meeting, just so we can review it and see where we're at.
Okay,
Good. So 30 days is good, David?
Yes, that should be okay. I'll do my best.
All right, thank you. With all that, I would move to approve item D.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, no presentations and appointments. New agenda items, discussion and possible action, approval of resolution number 2024-09, establishing an appropriations limit for fiscal year 24-25. Mr. Bartz.
yes, the appropriations limit was implemented by Propositions 4 and 111 and produced restrictions on the amount of revenue that can be appropriated in any fiscal year. The limit applies only to the revenue received from the general tax levy and excludes any funds spent on capital improvement projects. The appropriation limit must be reviewed and calculated each year to assure compliance. This action is a formality for the PPH-CSD for two reasons. One, the tax revenues we receive are less than the appropriations limit. And two, the tax revenue we receive can be designated to be spent on capital improvement projects, which would exclude the revenues from limitation. Pursuant to Condition 17 from LAFCO, Resolution 2994, the district's permanent appropriations limit was established at the first district election held on November 8, 2011. Measure G passed by an overwhelming majority, establishing the base appropriations limit. Now each year, the district will establish the appropriations limit for that year based on the prior year limit calculated by the means identified by the Department of Finance each year for the unincorporated area of San Bernardino County. And staff recommendation is that the board approve Resolution 2024-09, establishing an appropriations limit for fiscal year 24 and 25.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
And that limit is?
That limit is on page 74.
72.
Yeah, it's also on, there's a breakdown of it on 74 too. 5,000,
5 million.
yeah, $5,022,492.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I will motion to set the limit as listed in the page 74 and 72.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion passes.
Just so everybody knows, Steve Kennedy, the attorney, is the phone number on there. He was muted before.
Okay.
But I believe, Steve, are you with us now?
He's muted again.
All right, we'll move on to the public hearing for the 2024-25 budget. I declare that the public hearing on the proposed adoption of the final budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 is now open at 5:08 PM.
Can we verify that Attorney Kennedy is able to speak
Yes.
and unmuted?
Yes.
Steve, it looks like you're.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Thank you, Don.
thanks, Steve.
May we have the secretary's report, please?
Yes, at this point, I would like to report the district has received 0 written protest, objections, or comments on the proposed adoption of the final budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
Thank you, sir. May we have the attorney's report, Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. President. The notice of public hearing was published in the Mountaineer Progress on June 6th, June 13th, and June 20th, 2024. The notice was posted in the district office and on the district website on June 6th, 2024. Copies of the budget have been made available in the district office and on the district website in accordance with applicable law. Therefore, the district has complied with all of the legal requirements for this hearing within the manner and time specified by California law.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes, the board reviewed the draft budget detail at several public meetings, including the District Finance Committee meetings, workshops, and board meetings held on February 21st, March 28th, April 3rd, and June 18th. The budget schedule was made available online, in the newspaper, and in the office to encourage public attendance. Staff made changes as recommended by the board throughout the process, and the various draft budgets were made available to the public for review on the district website, in agenda packages, and at the district office.
Thank you, Mr. Bartz. At this time, we will open the public hearing up for public comments. Do we have any public comments?
We don't have any public online or in person.
Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move that we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Public hearing is closed at 5:10. Item D, discussion and possible action regarding contract amendment for bid support services for Wallace Group. Mr. Bartz.
I think we skipped C. But I just want to see
Yeah,
is
if I may,
the,
Mr.
Oh, yes.
Mr. President, I think there's an action to approve the budget.
There is discussion and possible action of resolution number 2024-10, adopting the budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Mr. Bartz.
thank you. As we just stated during the public hearing, the board reviewed the draft budget in detail at various public meetings, including finance committee meetings and board workshop. The budget schedule is made available online in the newspaper, board and finance committee, agenda materials, and in the office to encourage public attendance. The budget hearing took place preceding this agenda item. Should the board desire to approve the budget, the next step is for the board to adopt Resolution 2024-10, and fiscal impact is listed below.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Bartz?
Nope.
Nope. Nothing at all. Do we have a motion?
A motion to approve Resolution 2024-10, adopting the budget.
And I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, measure passes. Motion passes. Budget passes. Resolution passes. All right, we'll move on to D, discussion and possible action regarding contract amendment for bid support services for Wallace Group. Mr. Bartz.
Thank you. George is going to take this item.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. As we know, we've been going through the process with FEMA and through all the adjustments to our projects. Prior to that, we've kind of engaged with Wallace Group to help us prepare the procurements, the RFP, the revisions to the general conditions, to the Green Book of 2024 that came out at the end of March. We are now at a position to kind of move forward with finalizing the procurements, the RFP. In the packet, we have Wallace Group's proposal that outlines the revisions to the existing draft RFP and the general conditions by which they were submitted over to council earlier this year for review. It hasn't really been an urgency to get that review just because of the position that we're in right now with the projects and the conditions that that FEMA's put on us for this. But we're at a point now where we need to move forward with getting this finalized and ready. I think we are looking at possibly September, October to get FEMA approval on the funding and to kind of get ready to move forward with the plans that were submitted for approval. The civil plans are in revision as we speak. There's quite a bit that needs to be done with this. This impacts the 14-acre project on the grading end of it. So there's grading and revisions to the walls and the parking lot and the building itself that we anticipate to be ready for submittal to the county by September. I think FEMA is going to be complete with their processes with the approval of this project for funding. We are kind of wanting to jump ahead on this, is to have all this in place so that we are ready when we have everything approved by county. Part of what's still pending is a revision to the landscape plans, but we have to wait for the civil plans to be completed. In the proposal from Wallace Group, as outlined, the notice of inviting bids, they're going to be in support as well as preparing a proposal for construction manager on this project. They will assist us in this as part of their proposal. With that said, they've already done some work. They've exhausted this work or that proposal or that contract, and we're just adding to the existing contract. it was 24,500. They've engaged in many meetings with the district and FEMA to have an understanding of what exactly is required. I mean, we're going through the CEQA, the NEPA coordinations with the consultants, as well as what is it FEMA is looking for. They've been involved in this venture with us, which is very new to district and district staff. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions. We also have Matt Wilkins online that can really get into the details of exactly what is still pending. So with that, I'll leave it to the directors.
Any questions for Mr. Cardenas or the Wallace Group? No. I just want to say I'm glad that you brought him on board and that we are moving forward. I think we need all the help we can get to push the project along. Been a lot of challenges, and I'm happy to see that we're working through those. So I am good with the proposal, and hopefully we can move things forward rather quickly from here on out.
Yeah, if I can just add, and working closely with Kim, with Jan on this, they've earned our trust and to walk us through to getting this project completed and not to miss anything in this whole process with the site developing, with the building. You know, all that is new to myself and to the district. This is
And then
this
who
is
was working
unique.
on NEPA? I forgot who was doing that for us. That was another.
The NEPA, so we have Liborn who's working with us on the environmental. And that's what we're completing right now. They had a couple comments, meaning FEMA had a couple comments that we're addressing now. It seems like we're never quite where we need to be because there's so many hands with Cal OES and FEMA is what is it that they want? And there's this back and forth of, well, who's requesting what? I mean, just today we went through a challenge on figuring out what is it that they need when they've already received it. So it's been challenging, and to have others involved helps us to kind of put our thoughts together to get
Yes,
that understanding.
we definitely need the experts involved.
Yes,
Yeah.
and along with Matt Wilkins, Mr. Wilkins, Steve Tanaka he has decades experience in these contracts. We have not touched the general conditions. The RFP is something totally unique for the district. So with confidence and trust that we developed over the last couple of years, we felt like we're covering every portion of this project. Now, Mr. Kennedy, and he's going to go through this, you know, and he'll kind of hopefully check me to saying, hey, you know, we're good in what we have to review, but there is quite a bit that needs to be addressed. I just want to make mention, the Board of Supervisors are approving the $500,000 that was allocated for the revisions to the plans per FEMA's requirements tonight at 6 o'clock. So I just want to add that the contract with Wallace Group will also address that in the contract packet itself, the RFP and the procurements. So you never know. We might have another grant opportunity here in the next month or so. Who knows? You know, there's always an opportunity that we hear. So it might change that up a little bit. But if we're going after some grant funding, we'll put a pause on it for a couple months just to get that money. So
Thank you.
there is nobody here that wants to get this project completed. I know we all do. Me more so. This is a wonderful learning experience for me, and I'm glad to have, you know, the experience that we have as staff. I mean, with Jen and her involvement with these grants and the communications with the coordinator with Cal OES. You know, that's why I can speak highly with Wallace Group as well. But I'm anxious. I just can't wait.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Any other questions? No, we're good. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the, if I switch the sheet, sorry.
Amendment for bid support.
Item 6D, discussion action regarding contract amendment bid for Wallace Group.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 None opposed, motion passes. And we'll move on to 6E, update on the Civic Center and EOC project, park expansion project, and park enhancement project. Mr. Bartz.
Yes, I believe George probably just covered everything that's going on with the project, unless he has something more to add to this tonight. I think that one's done.
A little bit, but not really a lot of it, but I just got a couple that I didn't mention, but the building plans are completed, the revisions, that's flood proofing and the elevation change in that building. The submittal is ready for county review. We're waiting for the drainage conformance memo from the engineers that are preparing the WQMP. Once that's kind of finalized, then those plans can be submitted. And as mentioned, we're still waiting for a proposal on the landscape design. We need to kind of know what this is going to look like before we go into the revisions of that. And we're just waiting for the civil plans. So.
I want to say thank you for the update in the package. There's a lot in there. The sheet you put together that talks about the projects and where we're at.
The table, and
Yeah.
yeah, so we do have an outline of those projects
Yeah.
with the enhancement, the civil, or the Civic Center, as well as the 14-acre park project. We did include a table for the contracts with Wallace Group as well.
Thank you.
With Phelan Park, the CEQA has been completed. If you don't have any questions on the park, on the Civic Center. With the park, CEQA has been completed for a while. It's in county's hands. We just got notified that they are seeking a peer review of the initial study. They presented us with a proposal, which we weren't too happy with the cost, so we solicit an engineer to give us a proposal. Turns out that this engineer is also part of the other 7, 8 engineers that they solicit, so we're kind of moving forward with that peer review. And I think that covers it all. I mean, so CEQA's done. We're just waiting for county to kind of go through their process with that.
Yeah, I was going to report on this too in the manager's report, but page 191, if you look at the phase 1, there's like a $4 million budget for that. We did have meetings today with Assemblyman Holder's office and Senator Ochoa Bogue's office today about possibility of getting some funding. And we did give them an outline of the projects. And the budget's going to be tight, but they said you never know what's going to happen. So we did put in, there's a couple of requests being put in on behalf of the district.
Good, thank you.
Sorry, I have nothing to add. Sorry.
All right. Any other questions for Mr.
Yes,
Cardenas?
I'd like to make a request. This is a pretty good overview, but since in every packet we have a 6E or whatever, an item about an update on the parks and the Civic Center and everything. I would like something like this in it, but added, for instance, the Wallace Group, just a sentence on what they do and their cost, and whatever other engineering firm, so that there can be, at every board meeting, and once you get it put in here, it'd be easy to update things. For instance, the Wallace Group will have a change order, so that it's easy to see where the costs are, and I guess it would be related to the different phases. I don't know, So just a little more detail on where the money's going, so that the board can look at it. We talk about it, but I don't, the Wallace Group is a $500,000, and what are they doing, and where are we? And we've got a lot of acronyms and 4-letter words and and costs associated with that. So if we could get some kind of additional summary to this,
Yeah.
I think it would be very helpful
Yeah.
to me.
CEQA is and NEPA are good for letter words. If you look at the agenda item on the approval for Wallace Group, there is a table there, and we can expand on the table on 6C. I don't know if it was mentioned in the table, but the contract for Wallace Group on the 14-acre park includes the consultants, and we can have a breakdown of those consultants.
And you know what, that's the kind of detail I would like to see regularly to review, just to see where everything is. And I think the public should have, although we don't get too much public here, I think it should be out there that it's put in the board packets, that we're actually trying to watch where the money is and where it's going.
Sure. No, it was a good, it was a great idea to have that table in there to show what contracts and what's being done for what amount, contract amount.
And since we have it in, updates, then it'll just be in there. A director can ask a question if he has it. If not, if there's a change, you can make a comment on, and that way it's just carried forward.
Okay.
I would appreciate it.
Any further questions, Mr. Cardenas? Nope.
No, that will be part of the last item as far as the board packet goes for an update. That'll be included in that line item.
Move on to committee reports and comments. Engineering Committee.
Engineering committee met on May 15th? No, we met.
Yeah, we met in June, too.
We met last week, but the minutes aren't in here. And covered the status of the water system. Was there anything else that we specifically covered besides?
The implementation of the water meter assistance program?
Yes, and that was going to come to the board, I guess.
Correct.
We had some minor changes again. I don't know if there's anything else to add that you have to add.
I don't think so.
Nope.
Finance Committee.
Oh.
That's you again.
Finance committee, we met. Is it in here?
Reviewed the budget.
Since the minutes aren't in here. We reviewed the budget for, is a special committee meeting, and we reviewed the budget for this meeting.
Okay. Legislative Committee.
I was unable to attend, so we didn't have a quorum for the legislative committee meeting.
Okay. Parks, Recreation, and Street Lighting.
We haven't met since the last time we updated.
Waste and Recycling.
We met last week, and the big discussion was about the split trucks and contamination of the routes, and how important it is that we try to not contaminate the organics and the recycling, so that it doesn't all end up in the landfill, and how important that is.
No commingling of trash. Yeah.
Exactly.
All
I
right.
think that'll be our discussion going forward for a while.
Okay, item 8, Staff and General Managers Report. Are there any staff reports beyond what is in the agenda materials?
I don't have anything more to report.
Okay. Director's Report, Director Chiaba.
Nothing to report.
Okay, Director Snyder.
I have nothing to report.
Director Roberts.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Director Phillips.
I attended legislative days for the California Special Districts Association, and the biggest discussion was over the ballot initiative 1935 and the worries of the issues it would cause with governmental agencies, and particularly the backlogging it would cause of retroactive stuff. Thankfully, the California Supreme Court has ruled that will not be on the ballot. So that's good news going forward. In addition to that, last week I attended the ASB CSD meeting. That's the Association of San Bernardino Special Districts. And we discussed water usage and plants, and in particular trying to use native plants wherever we can.
Good, thank you. And I have nothing to report. Correspondence and information, Ms. Williams.
We just have a couple of our flyers that we send out in the bills. We have some summer classes for painting and archery lessons. And then we have our Friday night movies every Friday except for next weekend when the holiday is. And it runs through the end of July. And then there's some information in there on how people can sign up to access their usage and get alerts for consumption, leaks, and everything on the website. And then just some summer conservation tips.
Thank you. And then item 11, review of action items. Were there any prior meeting action items?
There were no items from the last one.
Okay. Are there any current meeting action items?
I have a couple things down for current, to provide the board with the disbursement history and for the fuel food training conferences and any of the policies, procedures that would be relevant to those. And then the second item, I just want to clarify, was for the PPH CSD projects, like an update that goes in there each packet
For the engineers?
for the engine, or the engineers for
The
Wallace.
economics of the two projects
Okay.
listed, basically.
And I think that was all.
Good, thank you. Move on to item 12. Set agenda for the next meeting. Do any members of the board have any items you'd like to add to the agenda? I will be gone for the next meeting, so I'll let everybody know that. I will not be here for the July 10th meeting.
If I can just add, we'll have a public hearing and adoption of the CEQA for Tank 6A at the July 10th board meeting.
Good. We will now recess to closed session at 5:32.